Hello, everybody. My name is Miles, and you're tuning in at X-Raised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. Today, let me guide you through the intersection of law and artificial intelligence, a space that's both fascinating and, let's be honest, a little intimidating. But fear not, because this episode will be featuring someone who thrives in complex legal battles and is now pioneering AI-driven legal research to revolutionize how lawyers work. With a career spanning over 20 years, she's been at the forefront of commercial law, tackling everything from construction disputes to professional indemnity claims. She's also the 2023 Top 100 Women in Construction and the 2021 Lawyers Weekly Female Barrister of the Year. So, yes, she's kind of a big deal. Now, she's taking her expertise to the next level by co founding an AI driven legal research platform designed to give lawyers instant access to the most relevant case law. So no more drowning in thousands of search results. So let's find out more about this from the award-winning barrister and fearless advocate, the co-founder and the CEO of MiAI Law, Laina Chan. Hey, Laina.
Hi, Miles. Thank you for that very warm introduction.
Originally it was really longer, like twice of
Uh-huh.
that, but I
Yep.
really have to compress it. So
Yep.
welcome. Welcome to the X-Rays community, Lena. Thank you so much for being here. For our audience to know how your platform works, the problems that you're solving. And I wonder if this could the real game changer the legal industry has been waiting for. And you've had a career as a barrister. But stepping into the tech world to lead an AI-powered legal research company seems like a bold move, Lena. So what inspired you to co-found My AI Law, and what gap in the legal industry are you aiming to fill?
Okay. I'll take that one step by one step.
Yes, please.
Okay. So it happened on New Year's Eve in 2023. So about 14 months ago, I had been, looking at ChatGPT, and I had been looking at my own work practices. And what really bugged me was that, I've read, I'm sure, well over 100,000 cases, or maybe even more, because on top of being a practicing barrister, I also uh, research and publish in peer-reviewed journals all the time. I've been doing that for over 12 years. So I've read a lot of cases and written a lot of articles, but I do not have instant recall of all the cases I have read and all the matters that I have worked on. So
Uh,
I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could use AI to digitally tap my memory so that, I could have instant recall. I would be able to remember at the tip of my fingers the cases and the relevant materials that I have read over the last 30 years, actually. I've just been a barrister for the last 20 years. So I reached out to a friend of mine who I'd met at Harvard Business School, Fred Almeida. He is an expert in complex AI, and he, in fact, did all the self-driving technology in 2017 and 2018 in Japan, where he won the Innovator of the Year award in Japan for those 2 years, I think, for that technology. And that ultimately was bought by Mazda in 2019, the whole robotics arm of Ascent Robotics. So I thought that he would be the person who would be best placed to tell me if we could possibly create what has turned out to be what we call perfect memory, a way of digitally tapping into our digital memory. So I asked him whether he thought it would be a good business idea, and he goes, yes. And he thought it'd be really easy. He said, I'm developing this other medical app, and I'll be able to set something up for you in 48 hours. Is that right? Or your children. He said, your children, who my daughter has a university medal in quantum computing from the University of Sydney. She and your son will be able to just do this for you over the weekend. It'll be really easy. So I took it back to my children, and they said, you're crazy, Mum. This is going to cost you millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's really expensive to do, and you won't be able to do it right over the course of a weekend. Anyway, so then we parked it because it was just a fledgling idea. It wasn't anything. And then 4 months later, I went back to Fred and I said, I really want to revisit this idea. So we caught up and we talked about it. And he said, oh, what you really want is perfect memory, right? And so then he just started, that was at the end of April, and then he just started coding in May. And we hadn't signed anything, we hadn't done anything. He just started coding and he started asking me all these questions about law. And then he realized how complicated law is and how complex it is. And eventually we decided that we would establish a company and we would do this for real.
Yeah.
But then he said, before I can give you perfect memory, I need to develop the legal research arm of it. And so that's how we started building the legal AI research partner. And 9 months later, we're about to have our beta testing, our minimum viable product ready for testing. So the infrastructure has all been built. And at the moment, Fred is in the process of pushing all the code up into GitHub onto the server, and we'll see how it goes. But we have our solution is complex. It's got 5 to 6 different layers of LLMs. We've got a couple of agents, robots, and shall I tell you now how the product sort of works? So a user, a lawyer, will come and they'll ask the chatbot, which I call Jewel, because actually it's trademark Jewel because I like lots of jewels. So when Fred said that you have to come up with a name for our chatbot, I said I want to call it Jewel. And so you ask Jewel, which we've trademarked as our chatware bot. We ask Jewel a question, and then we take that question and we engineer it into a legal prompt, because often the questions that users ask are not quite framed in the proper way. So we re-engineer the prompt, and then we have 3 different databases that we look at. So one will be our proprietary database, which has all the legislation and cases to start with Australia, because I'm Australian, so we're starting with Australia. So all of the legislation and cases that we've been able to get digitally, which is sourced from the courts and sourced from the government for all the legislation. And we have another database, which is all the client documents, and the client can upload all of their documents into their database. It's bespoke to them, it's ring fence, it's military encryption, and in fact, everything in our whole system is encrypted. So even our code is encrypted, everything is encrypted, and the user will be satisfied or pleased to know that all of their data is encrypted as well, and only they hold the encryption key, so that I can't read their data and nobody else can unless they share their encryption key with us or whoever else in their team that they wish to share their information with. And then we have a third set of, not databases, yes, a third set of databases, which are the external databases, about 165, 170 of them, which I have said for Australia that it's okay for our agent, which is our robot, to go out and search those particular databases. And then on top of that, I've written the legal algorithms, which Fred has coded up, which go through the reasoning process that I go through when I am faced with a legal problem. So we've been able to digitize that. And within that, on top of reasoning, we also have law ranking, which you won't get so far. I haven't seen it anywhere else, where we are returning the most relevant cases to the answer. So in Australia, the court at the top of the apex is the High Court of Australia. So the High Court cases are the most important cases of all. And then you have the different layers of cases below. So our model has been told anyway, that the most important and most relevant cases you must return are the High Court cases, and then you go down the hierarchy. So when you ask it a question, I've told you, we re-engineer the prompt. It goes into each of these 3 databases, all simultaneously at the same time, and it's searching and it's returning answers. So it's returning answers from each of these databases, and then it goes into, I guess, like a washing machine. It goes through our legal algorithm, and constantly the answers are being sorted and resorted to give you the most relevant source material. And then at the end of it all, we return an answer, like a ChatGPT-like answer. And everything is reduced to first principles, but it's footnoted and it's hyperlinked. So at the end of each proposition that we put in there, you can click on the hyperlink and it'll take you to the pinpoint reference in the source document. But at the same time, we tell you where all of these cases that we have relied upon or the legislation, where you can get it on an external database. So in that way, we've been able to pretty much eliminate hallucinations. So the difference between us and between a typical research platform, our main competitors, is that we actually return the answer. We're not just returning relevant cases to you, we're returning the answer, and that those answers are, we believe, trustworthy and verifiable because you can check the source material that we got these answers from, then you can satisfy yourself whether or not we have given you the proper basis for the answers that we've given you.
Right. So it was just a little over a year ago. Essentially, you
Yes.
wanted to create a digital perfect memory for lawyers,
Yeah.
giving them the ability to instantly recall the best legal precedents without the headache of sifting through endless cases. And
Yes.
with your co-founder who literally built self-driving technology, safe to say you're
Yes.
bringing some serious horsepower to the table, Laina. So thank
Mhm.
you for touching on also on how My AI Law redefines legal research and what makes it really different or unique from conventional methods. I mean, instead of, just throwing a haystack of cases at lawyers and saying, oh, good luck on finding the needle, My
Yes.
AI Law actually finds the right needle, rank, hyperlinked, and they're ready to use. So now,
That's right.
since we touch on the AI in law comes with a unique challenges. So like trust and for sure accuracy is non-negotiable. And let's not forget security because law firms deal with highly sensitive information.
Yes.
How does my AI law ensure the utmost data privacy, security, and reliability for its users, Lena?
Right. So we have military grade encryption. So we have two-factor encryption. As I said, everything is encrypted. So every piece of data in our system has been converted into an equation. And if a hacker comes in and they fiddle with the code and they add something into our code and the equations don't automatically change to reflect there's been a change in the code, we know that we've been hacked, and then the whole system shuts down.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And then at the same time, we've made sure that all of the user data is siloed. So there's no bleeding in between users, and the information or the answers that are being provided, the search queries that are being put in by a particular user is not being shared between users because we know we have to keep everything separate. So the learning from one lawyer is not going to be used by another lawyer in our system. So we've made sure that we've siloed everything and that everything is encoded with plus the military grade encryption. But that doesn't mean you can't work in teams. We've set it up so that if you're a law firm, you're a partner, you've got a team of people that you're happy to share your information with, we can create those subgroups of
Yeah.
people to work, and everyone can be party to that group, so that you've got a litigation case and you've got external counsel that you want to work with, then
Mm-hmm.
everyone can be part of that environment.
Yeah. Well, the military grade two-factor encryption that you mentioned, self-monitoring security systems, and data siloing sounds like a digital fortress. And I'd like
Yeah,
to highlight what you mentioned earlier, Lena, that even you can't access user data unless they share the key.
that's right.
That's next level commitment to privacy. And that leads me to the cutting edge legal research tools that have traditionally been reserved for top tier firms with deep pockets. But you've made it a mission to bridge that tech gap, especially for smaller firms and legal aid organizations. How do you guys help democratize access to high quality legal research?
Right. Typically, it's the rich who can afford the best legal representation
Yeah.
because they can have access to the tier one law firms, and they can have unlimited budget so that they're prepared to pay for all that manpower and the best lawyers to work on their cases. But even then, there's so much case law, not only in Australia, around the world, that if you really wanted to do a triple A bulletproof research solution, you could just keep looking and looking and looking, and you could never stop. I mean, cases in England, for example, go back to the 1500s. So there's 500 or more years of cases you have to deal with in England. And if you wanted to be really thorough, you could look at other jurisdictions as well. So it's really
Mhm.
not humanly possible to ever be sure that you have looked at every single possible case that might be relevant to your problem.
Mhm.
The beauty of AI is that we know, or the way we have organized our model is that our research agent will go and it will search the entire database, our entire database of proprietary material, and it will also search all of the curated list of websites that we say that the agent can look at. So in that way, as long as we have properly identified all the websites and have uploaded all the digital cases that we can into our proprietary website, you can be sure that your answer has been prepared only after all those materials have been searched.
Okay, that makes sense. So this is a tool that makes solo practitioners and small firms 10 times more efficient.
It makes them more, well, 5x, I think, because
Uh-huh.
one lawyer can become 5 times more efficient.
Okay.
It more than improves its quality by 5 times. I mean, Fred
Mm,
thinks it's 20x. I've
yeah.
been more modest and I say 10x. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it really increases the
Yes, that's the
quality
bottom
of the
line.
lawyer by 10x, 20x. So a sole practitioner, for example, normally would not have the resources to sit there and do the research by himself to try
Mm-hmm.
to get to the bottom of a legal question. So that really, unless he's negligent and takes on cases he's not really qualified to do, that really limits the types of cases that he can take on. And if he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have employees or a certain number of support, and even if he's a really good lawyer, if he doesn't
Yeah.
have funds to hire lots and lots of lawyers, it really limits the type of cases that they can take on and manage properly. But with our research tool, we expect that that will really lift the quality of the lawyer and increase his resources by the equivalent of having maybe 5 junior lawyers working for that one particular lawyer, because we expect our answers to be performing at the level of a PhD graduate with, several years of experience.
Mhm. Well, I can only imagine the time and money they can save through your platform. And I guess the best part there is that better access to justice
Yeah.
to everyone. So for lawyers and firms looking to integrate AI-powered research into their practice, Lena, what's the best way to get started with My AI Law and what impact can they expect?
Well, at the moment, because we're about to go into beta testing soon, and you can register your interest at miai.law, and then
Uh-huh.
you can go on the list of users that will see if you're to beta test the product. But then
Yeah.
at the moment, as I've said to you previously, we're only delivering the legal AI research product and only for
Mhm.
Australia at the moment. But then once we've developed that core product, we will then be developing features. So that
Okay.
features like preparing hot link chronologies so that any litigator or any lawyer knows that when a client comes to you and they've got a legal problem, one of the first things you do, or probably the first thing you do, is that you take a statement for them so that you can work out exactly what has happened to them, and you want to
Yeah.
do that in a chronological way. So we will prepare hot linked chronologies to help lawyers get this work done. In litigation, you have to prepare that before you take a case on or as you're preparing the court pleadings for the case, and you also need it all the way through. And definitely when you go to court to argue the case, you need a set of a chronology that is hot linked to
Mhm.
all the underlying documents, because that will help you present the case. So that's one thing we'll be developing sooner
Yeah.
rather than later. But eventually, the idea is that the lawyer will be able to run their entire practice from our platform, sending emails, calendar schedules, during their billing, everything. The vision is that you will run everything through our platform. And then after that, I know you're in the UK. the English law and Australian law have a very close relationship. So as soon as we've got our Australian legal AI researcher working properly, we'll be bringing on UK capabilities. And then the other Commonwealth countries that are involved, particularly well known for arbitration, so like Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia more now, and the UAE, Dubai, will bring in all those legal capabilities into our system and expand as much as we can into the Commonwealth countries. But then after that, we'll be taking on US law, which will be challenging.
Wow. Interesting. So with features like automated legal chronologies and court document drafting on the horizon, you're
Yeah.
creating an entire legal assistant back there.
Yes. Yes. But
And
we're not aiming to replace lawyers. We're just aiming
okay.
to help lawyers get their work done and help
Uh-huh.
them become the best lawyers that they can. So
Mm,
that, for example, as you say, in legal aid organization, in remote locations where there's, an issue with proper legal resourcing, that they will
mm.
be able to get the assistance that they can't get via
Yeah.
humans.
Yes, not really replacing them, but rather helping them to be more efficient and save time. And if I got
Yes.
those correctly, I mean the updates, my AI law is launching first in Australia with
Yes.
plans to expand to the UK and the US.
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you so much for sharing that, Lena, and sharing your vision with our community from perfect memory for case law to military grade security and next level efficiency. And maybe next time we can invite your co-founder, Fred, to tackle more insightful topics about my AI law.
Yeah, let's do that. He loves talking.
Thank you. I have a feeling the legal world is about to get a lot smarter.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Lena. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. So to anyone out there who want to be among the first to experience this revolution, sign up for beta testing at interest@myai.law. Thank you for sticking with us and for letting us bring you insightful conversations like this one with Lena. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X-Rays.